All right, everyone. I hate to say I told you so. Well, not really, but didn't I say that Sebastian Gorka was probably the next to go in Trump's cabinet? And what did Gorka just do? He resigned. There was no pressure there at all, though. His statement was basically, "Oh, the forces that wanted to make America great again are falling by the wayside. The anti-MAGA forces are in ascendancy." You know what this is? It's a ruse. It's a trick. Trump's fans shouldn't be worried, by the way. Actually, his pardoning of Sheriff Joe, which I'll also talk about here, it's a bellwether for what Trump's doing. I think I see his strategy even more clearly now, and it's actually brilliant. He's trying to take care of, by purging Gorka, he's trying to take care of the fears of like the center right and some of those groups that have sort of been generally disapproving by making it look like he's less fringe. What did Trump do when he first gets in? He stacks his cabinet with people who very quickly garner a reputation for saying weird shit, for being well out of the mainstream, often having little to no experience, being dubious. Now, I don't see it that way. I see them as just basically actors at this point. I wonder who will go next. Bet would be on, I guess, Betsy DeVos. I think she would be next. I'm not as sure now, though, because there are a whole jumble of people, like Conaway and some of the others. There's a whole jumble of people that are like a step below Gorka on the so-called crazy train, according to the establishment. So he can sort of pick or choose. So don't put me down as solidly Betsy DeVos goes next. Gorka was more assured because it's like one step from Bannon himself. But, Mooch is gone, Bannon's gone. And Mooch sets the stage for Bannon. Bannon sets the stage for Gorka. He'll look for other people to tender the resignation of fairly soon. And all of these groups that he's dissolving right now, by the way, are meaningless. Media makes a big story about them, but they're utterly meaningless. Here's the thing you must remember about Trump. He's a big money man and he's a negotiator. That's his skill set, his main skill set. Negotiating and big money, big charisma. Big image, big brand. He's Donald Trump. You don't need to say anything beyond, "Hey, Don, big money." It's kind of understood. That's basically his image. Now, the money side is almost solving itself right now. GDP growth is still inclining at a significant pace. Job numbers are up. Consumer confidence is up. As stocks are up. As far as that's concerned, Trump's already doing a fine job. The only thing is the media has to constantly browbeat him on moral issues or immigration or North Korea or something, make him seem crazy in order to actually attack him. Because if he makes a full pivot to being an economy president, oh, God help the Democrats when the midterms come around. All he has to do is ignore everything else and talk about that. Some of his core fans may fall by the wayside, but here's the thing. The big thing they care about is we're going to build a wall. And whether Mexico pays for it or not, they don't even care at this point. They just want the wall, which is why he waited. He was waiting them out so that they would get more desperate and call for us to just fund it and then deal with Mexico later, which will never happen or something. That's what'll end up happening. By the way, the cost of it will be slight compared to the benefit to the economy, so don't worry if we do have to fund most of the construction. He already got his foundation for it a month ago. All he needs to do now is extract more. Now, I think that his posturing is more aimed at the Republicans than it is the Democrats or the population in general. He came in, stacked the deck with people that they wouldn't want to work with, that would look crazy according to lamestream standards. That way, the Republicans would come to him and try to negotiate, which is what he wants. He wants them to come to him and say, okay, we want you need to get rid of some of these people. Okay, well, we're willing to work with you. We want to work with you. Look, we've got a couple goodies already on paper for you, but you need to kick some of these people out. So what does he do? He has one of them say something fucking crazy, kicks him out, says, okay, give me line number 1. He kicks the next one out, give me line number 2. He kicks Gorka out, give me line number 3. Oh, look, I just won 3 victories and I got rid of people I was never going to keep on board to begin with. Because it's all about image. This is a fucking theater play. He's totally tricking the entire establishment. Even his own fans largely don't realize it. Trump is negotiator-in-chief. How do you negotiate? Read Art of the Deal. What does he say? Big upfront, big ask. You're never gonna get it, but you have to make it so you can get what you actually think you deserve. That's what Trump's done. How does that translate to politics? Oh, I'm going to look totally crazy for the first few months. Yeah, I know my approval will take a hit. Nobody will like me. Even my own fans will grumble a bit. But I got to do this because I got to extract tribute from the Republicans, which control the House and Senate. And he would lord it over the Democrats if they had retaken a few more seats, if they had like an even Senate or something. He'd work with a couple of them. He'd give them, throw them a few bones or something. He doesn't even have to do that. All he has to do is appease the Republicans. Literally all he has to do under the sun to get anything economic that he wants. He will continue to replace those he's ousting with centrists of a sort, the center-right or whatever, neocons, whatever you want to call them. But they're not going to have any power. And even if he is giving them a bit of power, it's just a negotiating strategy. He's a big picture guy. He wants 2 or 3 big things to put out there as signature legislation. He wants the wall, and he wants a renegotiation of NAFTA. The first thing he did almost when in office, what was one of the first things he did? Shoot down the TPP, which, by the way, was great. It was even a popular move among Democrats. Now, all of a sudden, people think he's crazy. Do you think that a crazy man manages to defeat a $2 billion juggernaut political dynastic candidate with the entire media stumping for her, even with problems within the party because of the Sander brothers? Because of people like that? You think that a nut is capable of doing that? You're underestimating this man. Do nuts or dumb people build multi-billion-dollar business empires with skyscrapers in, a couple dozen nations? No, they don't. Sorry. There's a reason why the media backed off the just he's always been bigoted and nuts line and now is going from the no, he was sane at one point, but now he's got early onset dementia line. There's a reason that they're doing that. They're getting desperate. They backed off the Russia line because they know that's a nothing burger, according to CNN, even though they still occasionally talk about it. Now they're too busy talking about Manafort and Flynn. They know they'll be able to nail one or both of them. It's never going to touch Trump. Never going to nail him on that. You're not going to impeach him. There will be no blue wave. Solon predicted that, oddly enough, earlier than I did. They were the first ones to point it out. I think it was a Sanders fan that made the article, which makes it extra funny. Now, Sheriff Joe, he pardons him. That's a little bit of a riskier move. It plays well to his core fans, which might be the trade-off he's looking for, but it is certainly going to enrage some people on the left. But they already don't like Trump, so he's not really losing much by it. I think pardoning him was the right decision. What did Sheriff Joe do other than try to enforce laws that were meant to be enforced when the last president refused to enforce them? That's the line that every Republican in the country at the time took. Even some people on the left fundamentally agree with that, by the way, including some people who are immigrants themselves but came over legally. It's actually fairly... You got to realize something. Despite what the progressives may say, immigration reform is very popular in this country. Building a wall is supported by more than half the population. Deporting criminals from the country is supported by an overwhelming majority of people in the country, including among immigrant classes that are here legally. Probably among people who are just residents. Probably among people who are just here on visa, because they don't want to compete with that bullshit. It doesn't make you a racist. It doesn't make Trump bigoted. It doesn't mean he's doing anything wrong. He's doing something that the Democratic Party talked about not even 20 years ago. With a straight face, they suggested the same things towards the end of the Bubba Bill era. And people applauded and thought it was great. Oh, we need to protect U.S. jobs. Back when the Democrats were like a labor movement. Now the Democrats are basically just a war-hawking, authoritarian party of pro-censorship, more war, and more taxes. No pro-business platform to be seen whatsoever, which is why they'll probably lose the midterms. If my reading of Trump's actions are right, then Trump's going to be just fine. Yeah, he'll probably win a second term. You may not see it now. There were plenty of times during the election, though, that people swore up and down to me that Trump was doomed because he went one step too far. He said something that was crazy. He said something that was bigoted. He got attacked too much by the media, like they were ever effectual in their attacks. They're still doing the same thing. Has it hurt him? He still seems to be in office. Hasn't resigned yet. One person said that he thought Trump would resign fairly soon, if the establishment wasn't willing to negotiate and work with him. Possible. On that token, I actually don't disagree with your assessment. If they plant their heels and refuse to work with him at all, there may come a point at which he has no choice but to resign because government's too strangulated. His approval will continue to tick down and down. At some point, he would have to leave. Even his inner circle would tell him, Trump, you need to go. We realize you're trying to do what's right, but we've been defeated. I don't think that'll happen, though. I think it's more likely that his strategy works because he's been planning it probably for literally years. This is how he's designed his entire life. You do realize that, right? He's done this in every business deal he's ever done. In fact, it's all he knows how to do at that level. It's his lifeblood. He enjoys it. He's good at it. He's a master, probably the best at it. And he tells people that on a constant basis. So Sheriff Joe is pardoned, which means that plays really well. Any Republican that primarily cares about immigration immediately supports Trump again, even if they were sort of not riding the Trump train. So there's number one. With Gorka out, Trump normalizes his cabinet, his inner circle, more, which is an important negotiating strategy. He's probably already extracted concessions from the Republican majority in exchange for what he's doing now. I can't imagine that he would act first. Maybe with Scaramucci, that might have gotten it rolling. He said, okay, he probably went to McConnell and all these others said, okay, I'm getting rid of the mooch. Because he's crazy, which of course was the point. That's the projection that was made. It's propaganda of a sort. He went to them, said, okay, I'm getting rid of mooch. They're like, oh, thank goodness. So they say, okay, thank goodness, he's sane. But we really want you to get rid of Bannon. But he always planned to get rid of Bannon in the first place. It's no loss to him. He's like, okay, yeah, but I'm going to need to see a couple papers here that I can, look over. I'm going to need to hear, how are we funding the wall, and what are you doing with healthcare? Which, by the way, the media right now is talking about Trump is clueless and impotent on healthcare, so the House and Senate Republicans are acting without him. You think he didn't give them the tacit blessing to do so? He probably doesn't even want to be involved with healthcare, and probably not without good reason. Nobody in their right mind right now wants to touch healthcare. By the way, it's still going to be a disaster and a watered-down piece of shit. Trump doesn't want any part of it because it's going to be a piece of shit. At best, it'll be slightly better than the ACA, which is to say it's still just a spit-shined turd. There's no way for the government to reform healthcare. Government being involved in it at all is the problem. Trump knows this. He's not dumb. Trump is transitioning to a jobs and immigration and economic president. That's what he's hedging his bets on. He's leaving the moral haranguing behind, which disarms the left because they've focused only on that. Have you heard anything from any left-leaning outlet over the last, 6 months, half a year? Have you heard one thing from them about jobs? Have you heard one thing from them about the stock market or anything, unless it's to say, the stock market will collapse soon. Job numbers will go back down soon. They haven't even come to the defense of Obama and said, but Trump is just continuing Obama's growth. They did that for about the first month and then they forgot about it because he's totally focused them on other issues. He's hoping to exhaust their moral campaign, get him focused on that, keep him focused on that, while he normalizes his cabinet so he can turn around in the future and say, what are you talking about? There's no weirdos on my cabinet. These are a bunch of neocons. You were speaking with glowing praise of these people after I had already taken office. What are you talking about? What extremists? What fanatics? I don't see any of them. And meanwhile, he gets the rudiments of everything that he promised during the campaign. He gets his wall. He gets the deportation he promised, which was never mass deportation. I told people this. They didn't listen to me. A lot of people, if people had known how right I was going to be, a lot of Trump fans wouldn't have even voted for Trump. They would have called him a sellout. That's the funny part. And I warned you, still voted for him. You thought he was Hitler just like the far left did. Trump's not a neocon, but he's not all right. He's not a nativist per se. He's not far right. He's a regular populist, which is what our nation fundamentally needs, at least in the economic sense. You could say we need to go further. I say we need to go much further towards libertarianism. But it's a start. It is reform. And he has spoken out in praise of the Second Amendment. Let's see if he keeps doing that. That would be another platform that would be very popular, at least among the Republicans and parts of the center left. Pro-gun platform, rip apart existing gun control. And then Trump additionally can take the high ground if he does this, which is why he may very well do so, and say, well, Oh, you want minorities and women to be disarmed. This worked during the campaign, by the way. You want people to be disarmed because you want people to get killed. Shame on you, basically. That's what it'll do. But Gorka's out, which I said would happen next. Arpaio's been pardoned. That was more 50-50. I didn't even want to give a prediction on that. It wasn't clear which strategy he was going to use. Getting Sheriff Joe in the news and then abandoning him as an appeasement to the left versus appeasing his core fans and some sort of kind of splintery groups by pardoning him. He chose the latter. Probably the right decision, although either one could have paid off, I guess. Depended on which strategy he was going to use. So in comes Sheriff Joe to shake his hand, and out goes Gorka. And Gorka probably knew he was, not long for the cabinet. That's about all. Peace out.